Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. Yesterday, we talked about the shelves that I've been building for M. I did not put the second coat of finish on them yesterday. I'm going to do that today. They still felt, they feel fine now. They still felt just slightly slick, which means there's probably a little bit of oil on there. So I'm going to do that today, and then probably in a week or so, I will put on a coat of beeswax, which I have back here, and buff that in really good, and then cut the hanging holes and put them up on the wall. So you'll get to see some pictures at some point. But the interesting thing was, Chris pointed out yesterday that the sub-language of woodworking was completely baffling to him, because like all the things I said made no sense. And I think that's true, for any hobby. I even pointed out to him, like, the sub-language of board games is probably really foreign to anybody who walked in and said, oh, this is a worker placement. I don't know what that means. That makes no sense to me, right? But that goes with everything, including this project management thing I'm doing, which I wanted to let you know of my audit. I got all of my audit paperwork together, I believe on Thursday last week, and I submitted that, or maybe it was Friday. Thursday or Friday of last week, I got all of my audit paperwork put together. I got all of my references agreed to give me reference and say, yes, I did the work that I'm claiming that I did. And Friday afternoon at like 3 o'clock, I got approved. I got approved to take the test. So this is step one. Step one is you write this huge application. And the application, because I only have an associate's degree, I had to prove 5 years, 60 months of project management experience. And they don't necessarily care how much project management you did, just as long as you did some form of project management for 60 months, for 5 years. So I had to go back through all of the projects that I've done over the past 5 years and document my experience managing those projects. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I was the project manager. It just means that I participated in the project management process. That could even mean I was executing tasks. That's part of the project management process. They just want to see that that at some point in that 5 year span, I have done all of the various aspects of project management, from planning to stakeholder engagement to execution to closing the projects, and so I had to just document all of that. All that got approved Friday at 3, and then by Friday at 4, I had scheduled my test. I am taking the test on April 26th. I was hoping to take the test at the end of this month or the first week of March, but the only date in March was the 18th, and I'm going to be not available that day. So apparently there's just a lot of people taking certification exams, and so I'm going to a testing facility to take the test in April. And so that means I've got plenty of time to study. I've been doing remedial studying, I guess, like just kind of every now and then going through test questions, going through the process to keep it fresh. And then in April, I will do I will spend hours every day studying, going through the books again, going through test questions again, really prepping so that by the 26th I'm confident. But tying this back into the language part, I didn't fully understand when I took the first class. So December 2020, a year and a month ago, I took a project management course, which is another part of the requirements for getting your project management certification. Is you have to have 35 credit hours of an approved project management class. So I had to prove 60 months of experience. I had to have 35 contact hours on an approved project management class, and prove all my experience, and then pay $555 for the test. Now, my work agreed to pay for my membership to the Project Management Institute, which reduced the cost of the test to $405 for me. But that's still a $405 bill that I have to pay just to be able to take this test. It's quite a big deal. And the project management class that I took a year and a month ago was not a project management class. It was, let's step through this book and explain to you everything this book says. That was it. The key there is that project management, PMP, the Project Management Professional Certification, is not really proof that you know how to manage a project. It's just proof that you know the terminology of project management. And that's what I was getting to. So it really doesn't require you or even afford you an understanding of project management. It doesn't tell you like this is how you do this in the real world. It just says in an ideal world, when in an ideal setting, a project plan goes from this to this, and these are the 175 steps or whatever that are in between. Talking to actual project managers, it seems like nobody does that. Like, unless you're on super high-end, multi-million-dollar, massive projects where you have like a project management office who's doing all of this work, nobody does that. You write up a charter, you have contacts, you have a task list, you schedule tasks. At the end of it, you close everything out. You have a risk register, blah, blah, blah. You don't really do all of these steps every project. That's just not feasible. But what I had to do in order to do this application process was go back and go through that book and go, all right, I have to prove that at some point I have done risk assessment and I have logged that in a risk register. At some point, that's 5 years. I had to do that. Have I done that? Yeah, I have. When I did my professional learning program, I had to identify some risks, and some of those risks were things such as regulatory requirements for reporting, regulatory reporting requirements, which is something I've had to continually update on that software. I just had to add a bunch of disclaimers and whatnot to some of the generated reports for regulatory reasons. So regulatory issues or regulatory things were part of my risk register. My risk register was a couple of Post-it notes stuck on my monitor. But that counts, right? I did risk analysis. I looked at the risks for this project's success. Some of those were the ability to create reports as required by regulators. I wrote that down. That becomes my risk register. Does it matter that it was a 3-inch by 3-inch Post-it note stuck to my monitor? No. But man, it felt so freaking wrong writing down, I performed risk analysis and drafted a risk register. But I did. That's what I did. I literally did that. It's just not the way that you envision these things when you look at, this book that they have that says this is what the parts of a risk register. And it kind of, I think we've had the discussion before about my misconception as a youth into what exactly, I assumed that there was processes for everything and everything followed a standard procedure. We went to a company and you did exactly what the book said you were supposed to do. And it took me a very long time to realize that's not how the world works. And though there is this book that's called the Project Management Institute's Guide to, or Book of Knowledge, it doesn't mean that this tells you anything about how to manage a project. It just says these are the certified terminology and specifications that are used in the management of projects. And pick and choose what you're going to use, I guess, because that's really all the certification means, is that I understand this is supposed to happen, whether it does or not. So anyway, I'll be taking that test. Hopefully all goes well. But for the meantime, I'm not going to spend a ton of time studying because I'm the kind of person that if I read the book the week before, I'll pass the test with flying colors. If I read it now and don't do any studying until that point, it'll be really wishy-washy. But this is the kind of test where you can literally read the book and then go take the test, I think. As long as you have a critical and a very literal frame of reference for the material that you're reading, you should be able to do that. So that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is lachrymose. It is an adjective meaning describes someone who cries at the drop of a hat. She was so lachrymose, she cried at commercials for long-distance phone companies. Lachrymose. Lachrymose. I love that word. That's great. And I'm probably saying it wrong. I love that you guys tell me when I say these words wrong, because their pronunciation guide in here, not good. So lachrymose is how I'm reading that, but I think that's a hilarious word, and I'm definitely going to be using it.